So, friends, the Supreme Court may have thrown Donald Trump a lifeline. They may have given him a way to wiggle out of criminal responsibility for some of the crimes he committed against the American people. But in the process, they gave President Joe Biden a powerful tool to protect American democracy. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, the Supreme Court has given American presidents the power of lawlessness. The power to violate our nation's laws, the power to commit crimes against we the people with immunity. And by granting that power, the radical, purely political, right-wing bloc of the Supreme Court, in effect, encourages presidential lawlessness. Think about it. If the Supreme Court issued a ruling that said bank robbers enjoy immunity, they can't be prosecuted for their crimes, would that encourage or discourage bank robbers? Come on now. This is not rocket science. So friends, today we're going to start with just a little bit of the new reporting, and then we're going to turn to a few short passages from the new Supreme Court opinion, and they will highlight just how damaging this Supreme Court opinion is to the prospect of honest governing, the prospect of holding a criminal president accountable. Let's start with some new reporting from Bloomberg. Headline: Trump immunity ruling invites presidents to commit crimes. The Supreme Court vastly expands executive power and jeopardizes democracy and the future of the rule of law. And that article begins: the Supreme Court, in perhaps its most consequential decision about the powers and parameters of the U.S. presidency, ruled on Monday that Donald Trump cannot be tried in a criminal court for any actions within his conclusive and preclusive constitutional authority while serving in the White House, but any potentially criminal acts that were unofficial, that is, taken to promote his personal interests, are fair game, the court ruled. The most direct result of the ruling is that Trump, a twice impeached, convicted felon, will not be tried before Election Day for his role in the events surrounding the January 6, 2021 siege at the U.S. Capitol. Federal prosecutors indicted Trump last August on multiple counts of election fraud related to his and his co-conspirators' efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election, with January 6th featuring prominently in the charges. The Supreme Court, in a 6-3 ruling that tracked its long-standing ideological divisions, sent the case back to District Judge Tanya Chutkan to be reconsidered and revised. And then the article quotes part of the dissent by Justice Sotomayor. Quote, looking beyond the fate of this particular prosecution, the long-term consequences of today's decision are stark. The court effectively creates a law-free zone around the president, upsetting the status quo that has existed since the founding, she observed. This new official acts immunity now lies about like a loaded weapon for any president that wishes to place his own interests, his own political survival, or his own financial gain above the interests of the nation. Now, friends, before we turn to just a few short passages from the new Supreme Court ruling, let's recall some of what Donald Trump did with his Department of Justice. He corrupted and weaponized the Department of Justice, trying to get them to lie and tell the battleground states there was massive election fraud. And therefore, in essence, he was telling or trying to get the DOJ to tell the battleground states to just send fake elector certificates to Washington declaring me the winner, even though Joe Biden is the rightful winner of the election. So Donald Trump wasn't using the Department of Justice to enforce the laws or to legitimately investigate any suspected crime. Donald Trump was not upholding his constitutional obligation, his sworn duty to take care that the laws of the nation be faithfully executed. No, he was using the Department of Justice to violate the law, to commit crimes, to unlawfully retain power. Against that backdrop, let's look at just a few short passages of this new, horrific Supreme Court opinion. Chief Justice Roberts tells us, investigation and prosecution of crimes is a quintessentially executive function. The executive branch, meaning the president, has that responsibility. The president may discuss potential investigations and prosecutions with his attorney general and other Justice Department officials to carry out his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. And the attorney general, as head of the Justice Department, acts as the president's chief law enforcement officer, who provides vital assistance to him in the performance of his constitutional duty to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. For that reason, Trump's threatened removal of the acting attorney general who wouldn't do his criminal bidding, my editorial addition, Trump's threatened removal of the acting attorney general likewise implicates conclusive and preclusive presidential authority. The indictment's allegations that the requested investigations were shams or proposed for an improper purpose, which the evidence absolutely proves they were. My editorial addition. The indictment's allegations that the requested investigations were shams or proposed for an improper purpose do not divest the president of exclusive authority over the investigative and prosecutorial functions of the Justice Department and its officials. And the president cannot be prosecuted for conduct within his exclusive constitutional authority, even though it plainly is a crime that he's committing against our nation's laws, against the American people, against the Constitution. Tough luck, American people. Trump can't be prosecuted for it. Again, all my editorial addition. Trump is therefore absolutely immune from prosecution for the alleged criminal conduct involving his discussions with Justice Department officials. But it keeps getting worse, friends, because the Chief Justice continues. In dividing official from unofficial conduct, courts may not inquire into the president's motives. So criminal intent, corrupt motives, guilty mens rea does not matter. Prosecutors can't even ask about it. Such a highly intrusive inquiry would risk exposing even the most obvious instances of official conduct to judicial examination on the mere allegation of improper purpose. And friends, here is Chief Justice John Roberts delivering a headshot to the rule of law. Nor may courts deem an action unofficial merely because it allegedly violates a generally applicable law. So you can't deem a presidential act unofficial because it clearly violates our federal laws, because it clearly is a crime he commits against the American people. Doesn't matter in John Roberts' estimation. Nor may courts deem an action unofficial merely because it allegedly violates a generally applicable law. Otherwise, presidents would be subject to trial on every allegation that an action was unlawful, depriving immunity of its intended effect. In other words, according to Roberts, if the president does it, it's not a crime. Where have we heard that one before? But friends, let's finish it up by bringing it into full focus. What the radical right-wing bloc of the Supreme Court just said is that because the president has the official duty to enforce the laws of the nation, he gets to violate the laws of the nation with complete immunity. That doesn't make any damn sense unless your sole and exclusive purpose for fabricating this bullshit immunity rule is to protect Donald Trump. Friends, I maintain this is an illegitimate ruling from a compromised, conflicted, corrupt, and criminal Supreme Court. And it will be reversed. You know, just as Dred Scott was an illegitimate Supreme Court opinion the very minute it was decided, and it was ultimately reversed. Just like the horrific Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal, government approved, government sponsored racial discrimination, racial segregation. That was an illegitimate Supreme Court ruling the minute it was decided, and it was ultimately reversed. This too, Trump versus the United States, is an illegitimate Supreme Court opinion. It is in existence at the moment, but it will ultimately be reversed. But for the moment, Joe Biden possesses these powers, and he's going to have to use them to save democracy. Because justice matters. So friends, stay tuned. In the coming days and weeks, we're going to talk concretely about precisely what Joe Biden can do with this newly acquired, newly obtained power of lawlessness with immunity. What he can do to help hold folk accountable for what they've done and help protect and save American democracy. And as always, friends, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.